Hi, hello, it's James and Watts. Welcome back to my YouTube podcast where I talk about knitting and anything else that I feel like. This is 2 months in a row, so that's great for me. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I'll also go ahead and wish you a happy new year because that's coming right up, and obviously I will not be recording again before then, but I hope that if you want to be doing something fun for the holidays, I hope that you are. And if you want to be doing nothing for the holidays, I hope that you are. Pause the video if you could be cozy maxing a little bit harder and make the necessary adjustments. Could you be wearing more comfortable pants? Are you wearing pants when you would prefer to be wearing nothing or underwear or shorts? Do you have a beverage? Is the temperature right? Can you adjust that or control that? Like, I always need you to be cozy and comfortable for my videos. They're long, but particularly a holiday video should be just even slightly cozier than any other video. So get it the hell together, get comfy or get out. I say that and I'm not uncomfortable, but I could be comfier in what I'm wearing. But would I be wearing this sweater at home if I weren't recording a podcast? Probably not. I would totally wear this sweater, and I do wear this sweater out and about, and it doesn't bother me. It would only bother me if it was like, if I wore it and it's a little bit too warm for it, but if it's cold out, I'm totally comfortable in it. But in my house, there are a couple of sweaters that I like to wear for the house that are softer, I would say. This is not a revolutionary take. Noro yarn. My most beloved yarn of yarns. It's not that soft. But for the video, I wanted to be wearing this sweater. And then even these pants are totally fine. I guess what I'd be most comfortable in, I would never wear for a video. Or maybe I would, but I don't know. I haven't before. But like, here's the thing. What would be most comfortable would be shorts, which is what I like sleep in, like jersey shorts or sweatpants if it's really, really cold. Usually it's not cold enough for me to be wearing sweats, certainly not to sleep in. But even though I'm like at home a lot of the time and I work from home mostly, I get dressed for the day and I wear day clothes or just around the house. Like, I'm more comfortable spiritually to be dressed in a way if it's daylight to where if I need to step out and run an errand, I feel like I'm appropriately dressed for the public. And also that is just what I consider to be appropriately dressed for the public is something that is personal. It's not something I extend to the rest of the public. I really seriously don't care if people are out and about in pajamas. Didn't one of our nightmare politicians recently say that people need to like dress up for the airport again as if this is like 1950? That is so stupid. Wear whatever the hell you want. But yeah, you should be ultimately cozy maxing to sit down and watch this podcast. New recording angle. I'm always switching it up. I like this one. I'm always experimenting with the lighting. I feel like what I would really love is if I had a house with tons of access to natural light, and then I would just play with my camera settings to get the amount of like exposure that I want given the natural light. But sadly, I don't get as much natural light as I would like, and it's also The light that I do get with the layout and setup of my apartment, I usually, like if I had really good light from this window, which sometimes I do briefly, I wouldn't necessarily want to record with the other side of this room as the backdrop. I more prefer, usually you kind of, if I'm in the living room, which I have been recently, you see this wall to my left, which has like my tapestry behind me, which I can never fit the whole thing in the frame. It's pretty large, but I thought this was fun. The lighting is warmer. It's definitely a little bit more yellow tone, but it's like more true to life. And I think it is giving that cozy holiday vibe and maybe giving you the impression of like what it would feel like to actually just be sitting in my living room with me, hanging out with lamplight on a day after Christmas afternoon as it gets dark outside any minute now. So yeah. But I wanted you to be able to see my Santa doll before that gets put away very soon. And you can't see much of it, but you can see just the bottom of my crane garland. I also put out my pomanders. Is that how you pronounce that? I have no idea. If you read my Substack, which you should, I wrote about making these, as I called them, clove oranges, and my crane garland as holiday decor recently, just as little fun projects. And yeah, I feel like I've done the clove orange thing like one time in my life. I like did not grow up doing it. My family didn't do it. I feel like I did it in school one year or maybe church. I don't know. And I never did it again, but I always like anytime I see that, I'm like that is very chic and simple and like smells so nice. Like I should do that. So this year I was like I'm going to do that. But what I wrote about in my Substack was that I like don't actually know anything about these Christmas crafts. I don't know why they're associated with Christmas. I didn't know what they were called, if anything, until some of my readers told me. I don't know what culture pomanders originate from. If you're a clove orange expert and want to add even more context, feel free to do so. Yeah, it just wasn't super important to me, no offense, to like research it. It was like, I know it's a Christmas thing. I know how to do it. It's like simple, and that's the beauty of it. It's just like, I love to just be operating off of vibes, okay? For to drink, I have a mocha. Can you believe I've never had a mocha on this show, and I don't ever drink a mocha? First of all, I seldom buy coffee out of the house. Usually I buy coffee out of the house more when I'm out of town. But since I work from home, I like making my coffee at home, and that's fine for me. I save my money and it's good. If I do go out to get a coffee, it would be very, very rare that I buy a mocha because I don't know. I mean, it sounds good, but I never choose that. And something, when I'm recording a podcast, like I want the vibes. I mean, you can't taste this, and it doesn't make a difference to you what I'm drinking necessarily. But for me, I also want the vibes to be right for recording. And today I thought I was about to make a coffee because I wanted a warm bevy. I wanted the caffeine. And I thought, like, oh, I wish I had some kind of like flavoring I could put in this. And then I was like, what if I made a mocha? Which I don't know if I've made this before. If I did, it was years ago and I only did it once because I don't have any memory of that. But here's how I did it. I just made my base that I would make if I were making homemade hot chocolate, which is also something I don't make often. I used to make hot chocolate all the time. My mom and I both, when I was like growing up, would make it for each other, like nightly sometimes. But for that, I just do like maybe a tablespoon of unsweetened cocoa powder, and then like 2 to 3 tablespoons of sugar, and then a liberal few dashes of cinnamon. And then the key is to mix that together and try to get the lumps out. And then you put in milk a little at a time. You want to turn it into like a paste and then like a sludge and then like a slurry and then like a thick liquid, and then you slowly keep adding more milk. And that is how, if you mix it at every step, you can really avoid having clumps of that mixture in your drink. So to do a mocha, I did the same base of the cocoa powder. I used 1 spoon of real sugar and 1 spoon of Swerve or erythritol, which is an artificial sweetener, and then cinnamon. I brewed coffee in a mocha pot, and I made my slurry mixture with the hot coffee, and then I just topped the whole thing with like a nice amount of half and half for dairy. And it actually turned out really delicious. I'm loving this. I put what I was scared was going to be too much cinnamon, because I just was like not paying attention. I just dashed it so violently for no reason, and so much came out. But no, it's really cinnamony and it's good. I like it. I also had the feeling to maybe use one of my insulated mugs, which I think I have, like actual mug with a handle. I have one that's insulated, and then I have a couple of different sizes of insulated tumblers that don't have handles. And I was thinking about using one of those because I would love for it to stay hot and to like take my time sipping through this video, which normally I'm not that much of a sipper. I quaff my beverages so fast. I like don't have the ability to pace myself and like delay gratification and enjoyment. If I have like a really delicious drink, oh my gosh, I finish it so fast every time. But when I'm recording, I am talking constantly, so it's much easier for me to like sometimes not finish the drink I have in front of me at all. However, I didn't use the insulated mug because I wanted to use a beautiful mug. And not only is this a beautiful mug, but this is a new mug that I bought myself as a holiday treat for myself. I went to a holiday market that had a bunch of booths with handmade local artists' wares. So of course there were several ceramicists with tables, and it was hard to choose. But I was happy that there were some. I feel like sometimes I'm at those types of markets and the ceramics, like, it's hard to find a mug for less than $50, and I just don't really want to spend that much on a ceramic mug. It's a lot. I mean, great if you want to spend that much, and I'm happy that the artists charge whatever they want to charge, and I hope people buy their stuff. Not me, though. I need it to be a little cheaper. It's delicate, and the reason I needed to treat myself to a mug is because I broke my other favorite mug. Like, I am kind of clumsy. So that's another reason where I'm like, I don't need an $80 mug because I will break it. So, you know what I really loved about this market? It was in Evanston, which is the first suburb when you exit the north side of Chicago. And I'm in the northernmost neighborhood of Chicago. It was in Evanston at an art gallery, and there were like 2 or 3 of the art gallery or like museum workers there to man the gift market. But each little table display of artists' wares was just like set up, separated by each little surface of the table. And the customers were free to just like peruse everything there. And the artists didn't have to be there, like watching their stuff and making the sales. Like, all the sales, you could pick up anything from any table, take it to the front of the museum and buy it. And then I'm sure they have a system to where the artists are getting paid. I like that for everyone involved. I think we've all been at like art markets, and you feel really guilty sometimes when you see an artist who worked really hard on their stuff and like people aren't buying it. or, you know, you just want to, like, I probably spent like 45 minutes in that market, and it wasn't that big because I really like to look at everything and pick stuff up and inspect. And I sometimes feel too shy to do that in front of the artist if I'm like, ugh, I'm probably not gonna buy this. Like, I feel like maybe I already saw something I like more. I just feel more pressured if I'm shopping in front of the person who made it to make like a snap decision and not get to look as closely as I'd like to. And I'm sure I've never been an artist on that side of like vending at a market. But I think as an artist, I would also feel really self-conscious of like, ugh, I like want to be available to help customers if they want my help, and I want to be friendly and greet them, but I also don't want to put pressure on them to feel like they have to buy. And it's like everyone on both sides of that relationship understands what the other person's going through, and it's fine. But that doesn't change that it can still feel awkward sometimes. So I just loved this version of a market that didn't have all the artisans all selling their stuff individually. It was great to give me like a huge boutique experience. Yum. And side note, apology to everyone. I have 2 beverages, which is ultimate cozy move. My friend Felix was watching my last video, and then we were talking, and he was like, hey, can I give you some feedback on your podcast? And I said, sure. And he said, yeah, if you could not be sipping sodas in the most loud and disgusting way possible right next to your mic, that would be great, because I hated to hear that. And that made me laugh. And I was like, I'm sorry. However, I remember recording my last episode, hearing the sound of it and having the thought in my mind of like, I bet that's gonna sound crazy coming through people's speakers. And for some people, it's gonna be like ASMR, and for some people, it's gonna be misophonia or whatever it's called, where you hate the sound of like people eating and drinking. It is annoying. However, I kind of like it, and it kind of makes me laugh. So I'm gonna do it again. This is my favorite soda at the moment. It is Starry Zero Cranberry Blizz, whatever the hell that means. I had bought a 12-pack of the Sprite Zero Warm Winter Spice Cranberry, and I had that last year too, and I got it again this year, and I really paid attention this time to how it was tasting, and I was like, I actually don't like this at all, and I need to stop buying it. But when the smoke shop near me that always has the new soda flavors, like as soon as they come out, got this, I was like, well, it's another cranberry Sprite type of drink, but I still need to try it. And I tried it, and it's so much more delicious. I just, in general, I like Starry Zero much more than I like Sprite Zero. So already I'm a Starry fan. Starry, please sponsor me. But also the cranberry flavor is so much more fruity and delicious. Like maybe it was the winter spice of it all for the Sprite that I didn't like. But if you don't want to hear me slurp, 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 then here you go. Close your ears. You probably hear me gulping and swallowing as well. Sorry, but also not sorry. Speaking of Starry, please sponsor me. Let's get into the video with my real sponsorship. I'd love to thank the channel sponsor, Westwool, which is Stephen West and Stephen West Yarn Shop, Stephen and Penelope's in-house yarn brand, which I've been a fan of for years. They have such a wide spectrum of bases and colors. They have always steadily been expanding their bases and their color palette. Their fingering and DK weights come in 100 colors each, I think. And then the other bases are not far behind. To me, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm always happy to find brands that give me so many solid colors, because it's just for the types of things I like to knit. That's what I need. And I love a super bright speckle, and there's just so much of that, especially on a small scale of like the indie dyed. but I don't have so much use for it. And I for years, I felt like that's what's easiest to find. So I'm really happy to have a brand like Westwool that gives me 100 solid colors to choose from, which is why they do a lot of the same colors between the bases, and that is why it made it such a obvious choice when I came up with the idea for my antiphonal shawl, because the whole idea of this, it's modular, and obviously it reflects itself down the center spine on either side. But the whole idea of this was that I wanted it to be 2 colors and also 2 textures. So it's the yellow and the blue, but it's also a wool and a mohair. And so I wanted the blue wool to exactly match the blue mohair. And because they have all the different bases and so many colors and a lot of the exact same colors between the bases, Westwool was a perfect choice for this design. So I love it for that. And I also loved working with the glow hair again for my upcoming design, the Lacrame sweater, which, if I were a good designer, I'd tell you the exact date it's gonna come out, and I'm not, and I don't remember, but it's gonna come out either on the 1st or 2nd Friday of January. That sounds about right to me. But I loved finding this color in the Westwool glow hair. It was the exact moody, tealy, gray-y. When I came up with this, I knew it was going to be my January pattern. And I just had this idea for what it feels like outside in Chicago and the weather and the type of scenery I might be photographing this in. And yeah, it's giving mist rolling through the graveyard. This is their color Morgaine. So yeah, thank you Westwool for sponsoring the channel. And remember that you can get, first of all, Westwool is already at a great price, I find, but it can be at an even greater price if you use the discount code they've offered the channel, which is in all caps, James Watts 10 for 10% off your total Westwool order. And I'll have that information down in the description below. And I always say it, and I'll say it again, that is not an affiliate link, because that's not my thing. Yeah, I don't get a kickback from that, and I don't want a kickback from that. I just want you to have access to a little discount. That's what I care about. So thank you, Westwool. My mocha is already room temperature. Maybe it's room temperature plus 2 degrees Fahrenheit. It's not enough. I feel like I didn't do a good job of showing you the design that I did for my pomander. There's probably someone watching for whom the clove orange is an extremely sacred and culturally significant part of their heritage, who is getting so pissed off by how irreverent I am about this. So if that's you, sorry. But hopefully I made it up to you by doing a tasteful and elegant and beautiful design. Can you see the way I've done kind of these diamonds with a center clove? Smells so good. These cloves were so expensive. They were $9 for a jar. And then I was at a different grocery store and they had much cheaper ones, and I didn't know. I just bought them where I bought them. I don't think I've ever bought cloves before. And yeah, I just assumed that's what they cost. I am curious to see, is this gonna continue to dry out and shrink, or is it gonna mold? It's pretty dry in my apartment, so hopefully it can just dry out and keep looking pretty, because it's nice. I like having it around. If it goes moldy though, I'll obviously have to throw it away. I did get feedback from someone to say that when it's on its way out, I should boil it. and let the aroma really release into the apartment. Oh my God, sorry, I keep scratching my nose. I get an itchy nose, okay? I, I reached the age of like 25 and suddenly had long nose hairs, and I have allergies, and sometimes they are just tickling me down to my very soul in an evil way. Um, I also had feedback from someone who said, I, I feel like they must be like rinsing in vinegar or something. They told me that you can just let them keep drying out until they're completely dry, and like you can have them year round, or like keep them for next year and they don't rot. I can imagine that that's possible, but I would think that you would either need to like intentionally dehydrate it, or like I said, like give it like a mist of vinegar every day or something. I poked some holes with cloves and then didn't like the placement and took the cloves out and put them elsewhere. So there are some random holes in this. So I feel like I also don't know if I washed the orange before I did this. Sorry. So I really feel like I'm inviting toxins to the surface of the pomander. Um, I am obviously really chatty. I'm like, I should start talking about knitting. But here's the thing, I really don't feel like I have that much to talk about knitting anyway. And I never know. That's not true. I often don't know what I'm getting myself into when I sit down to record. Especially like today. Last week, I feel like I made myself, not last week, last time, I feel like I made myself a list of topics, and I did not do any pre-planning at all this time, which I also do sometimes. So I really don't know if this is gonna be, I feel like this could be 1 hour, and that's short for me. It's like the shortest I ever go, I think. But who knows? I am really chatty right now, and it could go up to 2 hours. I just don't feel like I have that much crafting to talk about, unfortunately. Um, but I do have plenty of just like chitter chatter, which hopefully you like. I think most of you do. You know I love to tell you like the details of my beverages. So let me also say about the crane garland, since I was talking so much about the pomander. It's so pretty. I'm sure this has been done a million times, but I did just kind of get the idea for it myself because I got briefly back into, I was really into origami for like, I don't know, a year as like a kid, and then I never did it again. And I really wanted to get back into origami, and so I bought a bunch of paper and I brought it with me on a trip this summer, and for like a day and a half, I did a lot of origami, and then I was done again. But since I had all the paper and I was just thinking about how I had fun doing it this summer, I was like, let me make a garland of cranes. So I did that, and I had this, it's, what's it got to do with Christmas? Like nothing. It's just pretty. It's pretty and it's sparkly because I had this foil, reflective foil paper. And I know you can only see the bottom, so go look at my Substack, jamesandwatts.substack.com, and you can read my little essay about making the oranges, about making the cranes. And then in that essay, I also discuss what music I've been listening to for the Christmas season while I've been making my crafts, and also what I've been watching. I watched a few movies recently, so I wrote about those. But you can see a better picture of the whole garland on my Substack. I think even though I made it for the Christmas season to have something additional to put up in my space, I think I'm gonna keep it up year round or until I get sick of it. It's definitely not perfect. The spacing between the cranes is not perfect because I just didn't have the patience, and I am a very much like good enough type of crafter and just person in my life. Good enough is great for me. Maybe my good enough is you're totally unacceptable, and that is fine for you and fine for me. Anything else to add about that? Not really, other than I wanted to say that I like it so much, I think I'll keep it around all year. It was kind of a lot of work. Like, I feel like it was probably 2 hours of work, honestly, at least. I did make it over several days. I would just sit down. A lot of days I would make 1 or 2 cranes, like last thing before retiring to my bedroom for the evening. I did not do a tree. Last year my tree was here, but last year I didn't have this couch here. And this couch I love. It was from Wayfair. Nothing crazy. It's like basic, but it's comfortable. And it is quite large, which is nice because lots of people could fit on it comfortably. But it takes up so much space in my very tiny living room. And I could have probably fit a tree here, but I didn't want to deal with it. And I couldn't emotionally handle having even more like huge things taking up space in my apartment. Also, I've been waiting to try to find a bookcase to go here. And my mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I told her I wanted a bookcase, and she told me to let her know what I wanted. Very sweet of her, but I still haven't like picked one because I'm trying to pick something that's gonna last. Like there's so many bookcases that are so inexpensive, but they're made out of like the lowest quality particle board, and books are really heavy. But then I'm also not gonna ask for like a solid wood bookcase from Restoration Hardware that's like $3,000. Like, I wish, but that's not realistic. I was actually just researching this morning and saw one on Target or something. It's not, I don't even think it is, I don't even think it's Target furniture. It's just like one of those random bookcases that you could probably buy it from other places. And, cause fuck Target. So hopefully, oh, I don't think I'm gonna get that one. But it had good reviews and it's like $200 maybe. One thing that I liked about it is that I think it didn't have adjustable shelves, and that's kind of like a double-edged sword, if that's even the right expression. Not having adjustable shelves is nice because then you don't have all the visible holes for choosing where you want to put your shelf, which I find them, I mean, you'll probably never notice them after a week, but I do find them to be kind of unsightly. But unfortunately, I have a lot of music scores, and they're taller than most books. I mean, they're the size of like a standard piece of like US letter paper or whatever, like computer paper, A4 or whatever the hell it's called. And a lot of bookshelves that have fixed shelves are just slightly too short. And I believe that when I was looking at this morning, the distance between the shelves is like, it's almost the exact right size for a music score, minus like, I feel like it's like a 1/4 inch too short. So maybe I just need to find an adjustable one and deal with the holes. But soon, so right now I have like a tower of books on my nightstand because I've been acquiring a lot of books the past like 6 months, and my only shelving is my TV stand here, which you can just see a little bit of, and the shelves are full. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't slurp that as disgustingly as I could have. Let me do a better slurp for all you perverts. Oh my God, this is nasty when it's not hot. I don't want to like get up and go microwave it in the middle of my video. That would take too long and I would have to like splice the video, which is really not that much work. But guys, you know I need this to be as easy as possible for me. You know what? It's fine. I like this beverage, tastes really yummy at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Okay, I have other BS to talk about, but I've probably already lost so many of you for who are desperately waiting to hear me talk about knitting, and I'm like over here refusing to talk about knitting. So let me talk about knitting, and then I can get back to the real fun part of the podcast, which is the BS. Look at what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Pentapillar pullover, which I discussed on my last episode that I never wore it because I didn't like the way it looked on me. And seasonally, I found it difficult to have a use for it as a short sleeve tee. Or, yeah. I mean, it was kind of a long short sleeve tee. That was the other thing. It was like I knit it so awkwardly. I don't know why I did that. But I gave myself the challenge to re-knit the sleeves to full length so I'd actually wear it. And I immediately love the way this looks on me so much more. I will be wearing it. However, I just need to be totally honest and say that like the sleeves are still too short for me. Like if I move around too much, why is this one feeling longer than this one? Maybe it is. It's like, it's that annoying length where it's like if I just pull it, it's like they sit perfectly. But then as I move around, they ride up. And that I hate. I really want them like here, but the Noro is not easy to undo the bind off because it's so sticky. And I don't have that much more of this yarn left at all. So I'm like, I did wear it and I'm wearing it now too. And I liked it. It was fine, but I just know it's still not exactly what I want. But emotionally and spiritually, I don't think I can redo it again. I think it took me 2 years of it sitting around and not being worn. Maybe a year and a half. No, probably 2 years before I redid it the first time. So maybe in 2 years, if I still have it and I still am not wearing it, then I'll redo it again. Here's the other thing. Not only, because you know what I could do that would really not be that hard? I don't need to, so when they were short sleeve before, I undid the ribbing, obviously, and then did stockinette until I thought it was long enough. I don't have to undo the ribbing this time. You can barely even tell on this 1x1 ribbing in this yarn of like where the cuff starts. I could just undo the bind off, and honestly, like I mean, really, I'd probably love an additional 1.5 inches on this sleeve and 2 inches on this sleeve since they appear to be slightly different length. I mean, maybe it's the way I'm sitting. I don't know. But I could just make the ribbed cuff longer, and that would save me like a couple hours of work. Here is the other final consideration. This is like honestly just at the point of being almost like a crop sweater. And I used to knit everything cropped, and most of my designs were cropped because I used to like to wear a crop top more, and I don't really like to wear a crop top as much these days. Like, I don't mind the idea of it, and it's not like I don't know, it's not a thing of like wanting to cover my body, or maybe it is, but if it's like that, it's more on an intrinsic and subconscious level. It's more just I don't like the way it looks as a style on me for like the way I want to dress and the way I like my clothes to look at the moment. And I have always been eclectic, and my style is always changing, and I'm also I definitely have a strong sense of personal style and can definitely wear some super unique pieces, but I'm very perceptible, is that the word, to a trend. Like, I will follow a trend. I am not above that, and I will enjoy doing so. So maybe in the future, either because my personal style shifts or maybe trends shift, I will love crop tops again. But for right now, I like longer stuff. And This is just at the point where, like, if I move around too much, if my pants are not high enough, my belly will show. And I don't want that for a long sleeve winter sweater. That's the other thing. Like, I would maybe want that occasionally for like a summer crop top, but not for this. I made the original of this sample, all the edgings were like the collar. I did this really super short ribbing, like 1 inch ribbing for the collar, and the whole hem is like that. Because with this modular technique, I'm not making the body longer in the modular pattern. Like, I could probably figure out some way to do that without like undoing the whole sweater, but it would be that would be an insane scientific experiment that I'm not interested in taking part in. I would just make the ribbing much longer. I just can't deal with unpicking. Like, on one of these sleeves, when I unpicked the ribbing, it was giving me so, like, it took a long time. It was just like every stitch was a battle and was like knotting up. I like couldn't get it started the right way. I like couldn't find the end. I couldn't get it started nicely, and it took forever. And I also ended up just like having to sacrifice probably at least a whole round's worth of yarn. That, you know, Noro is a sensitive and weak yarn. So if you're really mangling it, then you break it or it just doesn't look nice. One of my cuffs, I undid the bind off and it wasn't that difficult, but I'm scarred from the one that was difficult, that I'm like, ugh, if I undo this whole hem, and also honestly, my bind off on the hem is just slightly tight. It's not at all difficult to get on, but it's not, a more perfect bind off would have been a little bit more relaxed to just match the tension of the rest of the circumference of the sweater. That being said, a bind off that is getting a lot of tension, it's like it gets pulled every time I put it on and take it off. I think that action further kind of felts together the fibers, especially of a single ply yarn like Noro, in a way where I believe my thesis is that the bind off of the hem, due to it being worn so tight, I think it would really not come apart easily. So yeah, and with my limited amount of yarn I have left, I'm like, I just don't think I dare. But yeah, this is, when it's really pulled, I would say this is like just potentially just under 1 inch of ribbing. And even an extra 2 inches would be really nice, but probably, yeah, I think if this were 3 inches total, that would be perfect. Maybe 4 inches. At that point, I think I would like the length of 4 inches better. I don't know if I would love the look on this sweater exactly. I don't know if I would love the look of such a wide, if I did a 4-inch band of ribbing when the cuffs are 2 inches and then the collar is 1 inch. But honestly, since I bring it up, the collar could stand to be 1/2 inch to 1 inch longer as well. I quite often like a really high and tight collar, and I'm always trying to perfect making that happen. And it's really difficult on knitting to get the perfect high and tight crew neck collar without, like, if you do like a fold over collar, that's much easier. But if the highest point of the collar is a cast on or a bind off, usually I do a picked up collar so that I have more control. So it's a bind off on the edge. There's only so tight you can go because it has to be able to stretch to about 22-ish inches for most people's heads for it to fit over your head. And then my neck is probably only like, I don't know, 16 inches around. So you find that sweet spot of, a lot of my sweaters, I like have to jiggle my head to get it through. But then once they're around, it's like I see them and I'm like, honestly, it could go tighter. But yeah, if you do a fold over collar, you don't have the highest point of the collar being like a strong edge of a bind off or a cast on, so it's much more elastic. You also could put elastic into a collar. I will sometimes, because even if you do all of the math and experimenting and redo your collar 10 times until you find the perfect balance of how tight you can take it while still being able to get it over your head, occasionally the materials will just lose their shape. And all the Noro bases are a little bit different. Silk Garden keeps its shape pretty well, but I would say it stretches a little bit. But some of my sweaters, I knit the collars so beautifully, and then after a few hours of wearing them or a few times of wearing them, they get really stretched out. You could always just reknit it again with the knowledge that the yarn does get stretched out. But I will, on one sweater, I've taken elastic and I've woven it in like elastic cord, and it's totally like invisible. And I'll even just take a strong yarn and weave it through the collar of a piece. That's a little dangerous, dangerous in that you have to make sure you get that exactly right, but that's kind of easy. You can predict, you can just measure out like, okay, I'm gonna make the piece of yarn be the exact circumference of my head, you know, and weave it in on the inside of the collar and tie a knot. And then, you know, that's like as tight as you could go for a length of something that doesn't have elasticity. Oh my gosh, I just got hit with the feeling that I always get hit with mid-recording of like, oh my God, I'm really blathering about this knitting thing. Here's the problem with the hot chocolate, is that it does settle on the bottom a little bit, but if you mixed it really well at the beginning, it settles in a way where if you give it a swirl, it'll reincorporate into the beverage. If you did a bad job mixing it, then it settles on the bottom in like goop, and it's nasty. Okay, that is what I'm wearing. Pentapillar pullover with the full sleeves. As I mentioned last time, I was inspired by someone's Instagram post who did a full sleeve version of this, though they continued doing the columned motif on the sleeve, which I found very beautiful, and I would like that too. It just wasn't practical for my purposes to do it that way. Let's talk about, I don't have anything else to say about this. I already briefly talked about this during our sponsored segment, but my macrame sweater, I'll just show it one more time because it is truly such a thing of beauty, and I actually have been getting a lot of wear out of it, which feels really good. I love it. I really hope people are excited about it. The few tester versions that I've seen complete are looking great to me. Also, this test started in an embarrassing way of where I had an error that I kept incorrectly fixing and sending out updates for like the first 24 hours of the test. I sent out like 4 versions of the pattern. I had to keep fixing it. And sometimes when that happens, I'm like, oh great, the whole test is gonna be like this. But it was really just that one error, and the rest of the test has been silent and smooth sailing for everyone. I did just get an email the other day though, from someone who thinks they found something small on one of the charts at the end of the pattern. So that's on my mental to-do list, is to check that and fix it. But otherwise, the pattern seems to be working really great for everyone. Yeah, I could knit another one of these right now, honestly. I won't, because I need to design other stuff, but I love this macrame sweater. I also got the images back from the graphic designer. I think I talked about that last time. I worked with this graphic designer who was just looking for clients to do practice jobs for. So it'll be a much, the images I post for patterns are just normal photographs. I don't usually do anything fantastical or creative with them other than trying to take a beautiful photo. But this sweater will have some more interesting, more edited fantastical images to go with the release. So get excited for that. I did finish my mocha, by the way. But I think I felt pressured to finish it because it was so room temperature that I was like, let me just get this down my gullet before it gets any colder. I have been spinning a little bit. I bought this beautiful drop spindle and this lovely wool tweed fiber. It's roving, perfect for like woolen spinning, from the Wisconsin Sheep and Wool Festival in, what month is that? In October, perhaps? Feels right. Maybe it's September. It's one of those. Can't wait for the festival to come back next year, which, wow, we're a week away from next year. 2026, can you believe it? I need to research because I think there are some spring festivals, fiber festivals in the area. And I'm in the mood for a fiber festival. I wish I were knitting more because I want to buy more and I want to knit more. I'm not knitting that quickly, generally, for a long time, I feel like. Partially just because mainly because I split my time and my interests and like my focus between so many things, which on the one hand, that's my nature. And I would be sad to not be also doing jewelry and working out at the gym and socializing, and music is a big one. My violin jobs and my piano jobs, and also any time that I find to dedicate towards maintaining my music skills or improving my music skills, which I could do way more of. These days, I mostly just play piano because there's a piano right here sitting in my apartment, and it is so easy and casual. You know, if I put something in the microwave for 2 minutes, I come play piano for 2 minutes. Whereas the violin gets sadly quite ignored because it takes 2 minutes just to get it out of the case and get it set up and tune it, and you know, it's a whole little production. But I love playing violin. I wish I had more time and willpower to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I've been thinking more about my knitting in recent weeks and how I always think it's gonna be, as long as I split myself between so many passions and curiosities and professional pursuits, something's got to give. Like I'm not going to be doing everything and knitting a sweater in a week or 2 weeks, which there was a time in my past where I would start a project and finish it that quickly because knitting was all I was interested in for a while, primarily. And it was what I dedicated all of my time to. But I do think I go through phases of what I want to give the majority of my focus to. And I've just been thinking more about my knitting in recent weeks, and partially because I feel a little bit of professional pressure to get the designs that are in my head out into the world and make sure I have releases for the upcoming months of the new year, which is when I like to be my most productive in my business. It's when I like to always have patterns coming out leading to my birthday pattern, my birthday sale, and then carrying through that energy in the spring and the summer, and then slowing down in the fall and the winter. But yeah, I don't know, like one of my testers knit that lacrame sweater in like a week, maybe 2 weeks, but I feel like it was under 2 weeks. It took me like 2 months to knit that sweater, given there were many days, maybe sometimes weeks at a time, that I didn't pick it up just because I didn't. But I'm like, damn, I need to find a little bit of that willpower and prioritize my time to knitting a little bit more frequently. But here's the other thing that I'll get into, is that I am diagnosed with ADD, and I never talk about that. But I was diagnosed pretty young in like third grade, and I was not a good student, and I did not do well in school. And then I got diagnosed with ADD. I didn't know what was going on, but like I was I was going through testing for all of this without really knowing that I was different from any other kid, or that other kids weren't going through testing or talking to doctors or meeting specialists at the school. But my mom was behind the scenes, you know, noticing that she felt like she had a bright child who didn't do well in school. And she's like, that doesn't make sense to me. So something is wrong. So she started like observing me without my knowledge, like in the classroom and stuff, and noticing that I just would literally stare out the window all day at school. I just wasn't really interested in the majority of the subjects. And that's still part of it, is like, I do feel like I have a deficit in my ability to focus and have attention. But I also think that the other side of that is that, you know, I guess I was told I had ADD as a kid. I feel like people don't ever say that anymore. You more hear about ADHD, which honestly, it kind of felt fat phobic, that I even kind of remember thinking this as a child, that it felt like a fat versus skinny thing, being a fat kid, to not be given the H in ADHD, which stands for hyperactive. Because I'm like, they're just not calling me hyperactive because I'm fat and I don't like to like run around and exercise. And honestly, I think that's true. Scientifically and like medically, I don't hear people use the term ADD anymore. I just hear ADHD. But the hyperactivity, I would notice, like, if once I got medicated, I got put on Adderall, which I took for years as a kid. I would notice if I skipped a day that physically I would be jumping off the walls a little bit. So I do think I had it, but I also think the hyperactivity has to do with the way your mind works when you have ADHD, is in the way that your mind can just be racing from thing to thing to thing, with an inability to lock in to the one thing that needs attention or that you need to focus on to actually get done. You know, sometimes I'm sitting here with executive dysfunction where my mind is racing and I'm just thinking about a long laundry list of ways I could be spending my time or tasks I could be taking care of, and the different steps to do that. Or, oh, maybe I want to do this project soon, but I need to buy this material or this tool to get that project done. I didn't remember that I should buy that at some point. In the meantime, I could work on this. And then the next thing you know, you've just been thinking about all of that for a long time without actually doing anything. So you like waste a lot of time. All of that said, being diagnosed and being medicated made a huge difference in my ability to excel in school as a kid. I like immediately became a good student. And the older I got, the more I became aware of like culturally what my diagnosis meant and how it was seen, and also what it meant and how it was seen to be medicated and on Adderall. And by the time I got to high school, I started to feel embarrassed by it. I didn't want to talk about it. I felt like stigma around it. And it also made me feel bad about myself, as like, oh, I was given this medicine because I'm like inept or unable to focus or too stupid to do good in school. I'm going to stop taking it to prove that I don't need to be medicated to pay attention in class. And so I did. I stopped taking it. And I do think that over the years of being medicated, I sort of learned what it felt like to focus and gained a little bit of the ability to have that discipline when needed. But I never really thought about it too much after I stopped taking it until recently. One of my new friends in the city, he's 36 and he just got diagnosed with ADHD for the first time, and he got medicated. He got on Vyvanse, which I never tried. I was always on Adderall, and then I think I was briefly on Strattera, which I don't know the difference between all of these exactly. But getting on Vyvanse has been immediately like life-changing and illuminating for him and his ability to function throughout the day. And it really got me thinking about the way I feel day to day and the way my mind works. And like, just because I like learned to force myself to be focused and get things done, I actually think I am still a person who innately has the brain of someone with ADHD, you know? Um, I think I'm awed at times by the fact that I have become a self-employed person because it goes against my nature to be self-motivated. I am not a naturally self-motivated or disciplined person. I am very prone to depression and I'm very prone to wasting days at a time not doing anything and like feeling paralyzed. And generally, regardless of like feelings of depression or not, I always keep some standard of my ability to get something done every day, whatever I decide I absolutely must do for that day. But I do often have a feeling of like, okay, a whole day has gone by again, and maybe I only did one task that I feel like if I had actually just really kept myself focused, shouldn't have taken that long, but it takes me forever, you know? Or beyond my ability to like organize, strategize, or focus. What was I going to say? See, I've been very focused this whole podcast in a way. Now I just lost it in the irony of this discussion. Oh, I was going to say, beyond how good a job I do of like feeling organized and focused, it also many days just feels like a matter of my energy reserve. And I am someone who generally is getting like at least 8 hours of sleep. I like really prioritize my sleep. And it's something I'm blessed and lucky to be able to do, being self-employed, of like kind of going to bed when I want to go to bed and waking up when I want to wake up most days. So I usually get 8 or 9 hours of sleep. So it's like, and I feel like I sleep well. I like sleep through the night. So it's not like a sleep thing, but it's still so many days where I feel like I might have 3 or 4 hours of good focus available to me, or good energy available to me in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I hit a wall to where I just either I feel so sleepy, and I'm not a napper almost ever. I don't like to nap. I almost never take a nap. And I shouldn't need to if I sleep 9 hours, you know? And it's not even that I actually need to sleep. It's just a feeling of like mental fogginess, to where sometimes like, you know, if I had to do a lot of math of grading a pattern on the computer, that is the kind of thing where it's like, okay, I really need to have energy and focus to do that, because it's like difficult mentally for me. I'm not that into math and numbers. It's not like my natural skill or passion. But many days, the main task I might set for myself in the afternoon is just like, oh, I need to get a few hours of knitting done on this new design. And it should be easy. I like already wrote the pattern for myself to follow. I'm mid-project. Maybe it's just even something that's like stockinette. Doesn't require much thinking in the physicality of the knitting. I'll just put something on TV and knit. And I still can't gather the focus or the energy to do that. It's like, once I start trying to knit, I just find myself putting down the project like every row because I get distracted, I lose interest, and I also feel like I don't have the energy. I just like don't have the energy. I like can't even pay attention to what I'm watching. So that's something that's been on my mind recently. Is I stopped taking medicine out of a feeling of like shame and stigma as a teenager. And I'm proud of myself for accomplishing what I've been able to accomplish in life thus far. But have I been needlessly handicapping myself for the past like over a decade, right? Like, why have I have I potentially been making my life so much more difficult than it needs to be? And should I consider getting back on medicine? The other consideration is that these stimulants are really strong and powerful and addictive drugs. So that makes me hesitant to get on them. But I'm also like, but if it's something that I like physically need with the way my brain works and the balance of all the chemicals, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. But I think I want to give it a shot. I think that's the other thing. It's like annoying. It's like, because those drugs are so strong, they're highly controlled, and you often need to jump over hurdles to get your doctors to prescribe them to you because they're like widely abused, sold illegally, stuff like that. So that is a little bit of like anxiety I get about considering getting back on them. But talking to my friend who just started his Vyvanse journey, I'm like, I, at the very least, need to give that a try because I would really love to see, not to be like an ultimate girl boss or like someone who is trapped in a rat race mentality, but I think I am capable of a lot more productivity if I had the aid of medication. So that's where I'm at on that. How I even got into that just now, I don't know. And anything I said earlier about this being a quick 1 hour podcast, I feel like we've got to be past an hour already at this point. That was a gentle sip for you sip haters. I was talking about spinning. I'm still holding my spindle. And I was also talking about fiber festivals because I bought this at Wisconsin. This is going well. I started this a few months ago and then set it down, but I've picked it up again recently because I already finished the first ball. I'm almost done with the second ball, and then I will do my plying on the spindle as well, which is exciting. I don't generally finish yarn that starts on a spindle. I don't make much time for spinning generally over the recent years, but I do think I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I think the end is in sight, so I think I'll finish this spindle spinning project. But I had also begun spinning on my wheel, which I believe is in frame. I always love when you can get a glimpse of my spinning wheel. That is a Woolmaker's Bliss, which I always highly recommend that wheel because it's affordable and it works well. And it has a nice amount of functionality for a spinning wheel while also being a simple spinning wheel. I bought it, I want to say 2017, 2018, 2019. Somewhere within those 3 years, I acquired this spinning wheel. And I bought it new. And it came in, I was living with my parents still, and it came in the mail. And I was like, I'm not handy. I don't want to build this. So I was like, hey, Dad, hey, brother, do y'all want to build this? And they were like, yeah, it looks fun. So my brother and my dad built it for me, and they did a really good job. It was spinning really smoothly right off the bat. But I'm regretting that a little bit now because I actually was on the plying. I'm almost done with a new skein of yarn that I'm really excited about with this beautiful Hanui wool that I bought of a hand-carded bat that I bought at the Des Moines Fiber Festival last spring. And I believe it's called the Footman, if I'm not mistaken on which part is which. I think my Footman broke, which is the thing that connects the treadle to the wheel. And yeah, I was plying and I started to hear my wheel was starting to feel, the treadling was feeling a little bit less smooth. It was starting to feel wobbly for the last 30 minutes before it finally broke. But yeah, it broke off in a way, and since I didn't build it, I'm not exactly sure how it came together and how to fix it. So the good thing is sometimes when something like that happens, it just goes on that long list in my brain, and I'm like, I'll take care of it one day. But I didn't do that. I immediately took a photo where it became disconnected, and I immediately emailed customer support from wool makers. And it's the holidays, so I haven't gotten a reply, and that's okay. I'm not in a hurry. I don't need this yarn for anything, but hopefully they get back to me soon. If I need to buy a replacement part, I will buy it. And if I need any guidance on putting it together, I'm sure they can provide me with that. I do know sometimes people have had problems with getting in touch with the company that makes these wheels. I feel like they're a really small company. And it's a pretty small community of us who use wool makers products. Like, they're not super popular or well known. But there is a community on Ravelry, which I feel like has been kind of dead the past few years. But there's people in it, and I bet if I made a post, if I need further support, I could post in there, and I bet there's someone in there who is like an expert with these wheels who could guide me. But I'm sure the company will get back to me. So that's spinning. Wild that I have multiple spinning whips to talk about. Speaking of, I was saying that like I am looking forward to Spring Fiber Fests, and if I'm sure I spoke about it at the time when I recorded a podcast last spring, but when I ended up going to the Des Moines Fiber Festival, it was totally random luck. I happened to be in Des Moines for the weekend for a job as a substitute violinist with the Des Moines Symphony Orchestra for a Pops concert playing Final Fantasy music, which was pretty cool. And it just so happened there was a fiber festival. The only reason I knew about it is like I'm on Facebook a lot, which I know is very like boomer and Gen X coded of me, but I got on it in 2008 and I never looked back. I don't actually like post on Facebook, but I just check it every day. And a lot of times if you travel, when you're in a new city and you go on Facebook, you start immediately getting like local posts and like ads and listings. And I got on Facebook and I immediately had like a targeted ad from the local like fiber and spinning guild of Des Moines promoting that weekend that they were having the Des Moines Fiber Festival. And I was with Jessie May, who decided to tag along so she could come see me in a concert finally, which was really fun. And I sent it to her and I was like, I think we have to go to this. And she was like, yeah, let's do it. It was also like my birthday weekend, so it was cute. But we went to the Des Moines Fiber Festival and it was small but mighty. Like, it was in like a school gymnasium and there weren't so many vendors, but it was like the community of the guild there and the community around the festival there was really cute and like sweet and tight knit and like just a lot of warm personalities. There was a nice circle of people just hanging out, just mostly like spinning, but also I saw people doing inkle loom classes and just weaving for fun. And like all sorts of crafts were going on. But that was the place where I ended up meeting one of their board members. I think her name was Judy. She was this super cool lady who is like super active in a lot of communities in Des Moines. And when I told her I was there to play with the symphony, she was like, oh, I'll be seeing you tonight because I usher the symphony concerts. And I was like, what are the chances? But she had, I believe it was a Navajo spindle, but I might be getting that wrong. But I think it was a Navajo spindle that was a very large wooden supported spindle that you like spin on your thigh and do like long draw spinning with like long wool. And I asked her to demo it for me because it looked really cool. And she immediately was like, well, how about you try it and I'll show you how to do it. And she like immediately gave me such a like effective, quick class on how to use that style of spindle. And that is also where I found the Hanui hand-carded bat. And then I also got a commercially combed braid of Hanui top, which I spun for Jessie May. And that was Twine Craft Goods, by the way, if you're a spinner and you want to look at some beautiful natural Hanui wool. Anyway, I just really enjoyed that festival. I had a great time, and it's so small though that I'm like, I can't like, I don't see myself driving to Des Moines for that festival. Like, I I wish I knew if there was like another concert that weekend and I could email them and be like, please let me sub for that concert. Because it's like if I'm getting paid to be there for the orchestra and it's an excuse to go to a fiber festival, that just works out perfectly. 'Cause it's a little bit far. It's like 5 hour drive, I want to say, maybe a little bit more. Um, but I do believe there are some other festivals I've never attended in Illinois and Wisconsin, and just, I'm close to a lot of states. So I want to do my research and see what there is like within 3 hours this spring. And I also want to like, even if something looks small, because like, I don't know, if I just saw the like advertising for the Des Moines Fiber Fest, I might have thought like, oh, this looks like maybe a little bit too small to where it wouldn't be worth even a 2 or 3 hour drive. But then I enjoyed it so much, and like the variety of vendors was so good, even for a small festival, that it was like worth it to me. Um, all of that to say, if I see some random little fiber festival in Illinois that's like 2 hours away that I'm like, is this worth it or not? I should just go check it out and see, because I feel like the small ones are often like hidden gems that are right up my alley. So looking for fiber festivals, missing fiber festivals, need to be knitting more so that I can get cool new stuff and make even more to justify purchases. Okay, I'm losing energy, so I want to talk about what I'm going to talk about and then wrap it up. My whip for the moment is my Scrappy cardigan that I've been working on, which I think I said last time that I was going to knit this so fast. Like, I sometimes really, have grand and lofty aspirations. And I've gotten a lot done on this. The pattern is in a good spot. I just need to do the math for sleeves and write out the sleeves, and then also figure out my numbers for edgings for all the ribbing. But I finished the front panels, and using my Inspired by Park, this one's blocked and this one's not. If they look, this one looks drapier. Super colorful, very beautiful. It's almost a little bit too colorful for me. I'm like, do I want it to be this colorful, and will I wear it? But it is beautiful. I think I will. And I'm working on the back, which I don't know if this is also like an ADHD thing, but I give myself anxiety for no reason. And if I like put down a knitting project, especially if it's like a work project, and I don't touch it for like 3 days, then I get scared. I'm like, like, I haven't knit this in so long. I feel so guilty. Like, I'm so behind. I'm scared. I'll do it tomorrow. Like, oh my gosh, that is so backwards. Because then every day that goes by that I don't knit it, I just feel more guilty. So I even stopped in the middle of a row, but I'm just gonna knit one stitch for auspiciousness, to help give me good tidings and good energy to keep knitting this and get it done. Because the thing is, I already said this before, which is why I wanted this to be fast. I really want this, at this point, it would probably need to be a March release, which is fine for a cardigan. But that's the thing, I'm running out of time for like cold weather or transitional weather piece. And I already know, I would say like, I wouldn't really want to put this out past April, which like you can come out with whatever you want whenever you want. Like, it's the opposite season in the opposite hemisphere anyway. However, most of my audience is in the northern hemisphere, and most of the way my business works is like, this would be more successful if I released it in the next 2 or 3 months rather than when it gets hot. But I already know I don't really want this to be my birthday design, because I'm really excited about my ritual dyes design that I have in mind, which I almost am like wanting to go ahead and start swatching for that. One, because I'm excited about it, and two, because I feel a little bit of pressure to make sure I don't get behind. Because, yeah, I'm getting to a point where I'm like, dang, like I never want to completely stop doing like any jewelry or like my music stuff. And with music, I can't stop. Like I play piano and violin professionally, like regularly. Not a ton, but like re- piano every week and violin at least once a month. Like I have to take time to go do gigs and stuff. But yeah, I don't want to get to a point where I feel so much stress and pressure that I'm like, all I can do is knit. Because I know even if that's not true, if I feel that mentally, then I get that anxiety and then I won't touch jewelry. And then I'll go a month without making any jewelry and then I'm like, I don't even remember how to make jewelry and I'm never going to do it again. The caffeine in the mocha was too much or something. I'm feeling like a chaos agent, but I always prefer to feel, I don't feel emotionally manic in my life, but I feel a slight manic energy to how on I am for this podcast. But I always prefer that to when sometimes I'm like just so spacey and out of it when I'm trying to record, and that is, I hate that. So glad it's not one of those days, but sorry if, you know, sometimes I feel like my videos would be insufferable to watch on 1 time speed because they're so long and like boring, and sometimes I talk really slowly. Today, it does not feel like one of those days. Like, I will frequently watch back my videos and I enjoy them. Sorry for it. Sorry for being narcissistic. But I'm just like, let me see what I said because I forget. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I did say that. And like, of course people like these videos. I like them. No, but I am often putting them on 2 times speed because they take forever. But I think I've been talking like a little gerbil, and I would probably watch this one on, my recommendation for the audience is that, and we're at the end of the video, so you watched it on whatever you watched it on. But I feel like this is going to be a good 1.25 times speed, maybe 1.5 max, because yeah, talking kind of fast. Oh, other news is that I got my colored contacts. I've had these exact same ones before. Like I bought this style when I was in Croatia. And they last a year, which is a long time. They're a little bit of, they're soft, but they're a thicker material. So they're not as comfortable as like the quicker disposable ones, either dailies or I have like bi-weekly disposables or maybe bi-monthly, however you want to call it. But every once in a while, if I don't have colored contacts, circle lenses that are like enlarging like this, I just start to crave them so badly, which is also something I've written about on my Substack. Again, if you miss me, if you wish I recorded like every week and that's never going to happen, I do write almost every week, and you can catch up with me on my blog on Substack, jamesandwatts.substack.com, also known as Sorry I'm Good at Everything, because I like to talk about all of my different skills and interests and hobbies and obsessions and things that make me want to get up in the morning. I more recently, 2 weeks ago, wrote a really funny essay. It's not for everyone. Some people would be very disgusted by this, but it is certainly for me. I was making myself laugh so much writing it. It's very candid and vulnerable to talk about, but I wrote an essay about when I got crabs. That's right, you heard me. When I got crabs, pubic lice, in Croatia, and how I dealt with that, because I was really faced with an insane problem when I realized I had them. So if you want to laugh out loud at like the misfortunes of my sex life, there's an essay on that. Enjoy. And what am I going to write about this weekend? I don't know yet. I'll decide this weekend. In other knitting news, I finished this pair of socks, which I talked about these last time, and someone left in the comments identifying the yarn for me. So thank you so much for the person who identified the yarn. It is Laine du Nord painted socks, which is a discontinued yarn. Len du Nord has other color changing sock bases, but they have gotten rid of the painted sock. But as with many discontinued yarns, you can find shops that still have it in stock if you look. I wish they kept making it though. It's a very beautiful yarn. I've already worn these a couple times, but I tried to get myself to stop wearing them so I could show them and not have them be too stretched out. I just hated this white stripe, which I posted about on my Instagram, and I kind of thought it might be something like this, but someone replied to me to let me know that the white stripe is in the very middle of the ball to identify the midpoint of the ball so that you're not supposed to knit it, you know? It just is a marker. So you can knit two identical socks. But I was given a remnant of like, I only had like half of a ball. So I needed to use all of it anyway. So there was no way I would have like cut out the white. I don't know, maybe if I thought about it more, I might have cut out the white and found something in my stash to substitute that I like better. When I posted about hating the white stripe, because this is like maybe my favorite pair of socks right now for the colors otherwise. And I love that it's self-striping and a gradient. But one of my favorite knitters, Kate's Tangled String, more than a knitter, just a super talented crafter. She said if it were her, she would dye this stripe to a color she liked better with like food coloring. And that I told her I was like, never in a million years would I do that. I have never really dyed anything, and I would never think to do that, and I'd be too scared to mess up the rest of the sock or just end up with an ugly color for that stripe. But she did plant the bug in my ear. She put the buba in my uho, as I would say in Croatian. So I don't know. Should I try dyeing the stripe out of honoring Kate's Tangled String? I don't know. I meant to grab some of the jewelry that I've made recently to show, and I forgot to do that, so I'm just not going to show it. But, well, there was one thing that is for my Secret Santa, so that's kind of a secret, because I don't know if my Secret Santa in my friend group watches my videos or not, and there's a chance that she does. I mean, I could show it without revealing who it's for, but it's more fun if no one in my Secret Santa group gets to see it, right? But the other ring that I would have shown, I've posted pictures and it is for sale on my jewelry website. But if you don't, please follow J&W Jewelry on Instagram, where you can see my beautiful creations. But the new ring that I did a few weeks ago, it's got this massive, like, glowy lavender chalcedony, which is a very underutilized gemstone. I love chalcedony. And it's a silver ring with a simple bezel setting, but then it's got these like blobs of silver. It's got 3 on one side and then 1 on the other side. So it's kind of like asymmetrical, and it reminds me of like it kind of looks like an alien. It sort of looks like an eyeball with like 3 eyelashes on one side and like a tear on the other side, because the blobs of silver are kind of like teardrop shaped. But it's one of my favorite pieces I've made. I find it very beautiful and artful. Sorry I didn't bring it to show on camera. I think I brought this here because I really meant to start the video with me wearing this hat, which I was gonna take it off anyway because I will get hot if I'm wearing this inside my house. Just checking if my mic is still recording, because they died last time, and I'm pretty sure I charged them last time, so that wouldn't happen again. But as I was getting ready to record today, I was like, I don't remember if I charged them or not, and I'm not going to charge them right now. So please, God, let them keep a charge. This one's still on. I think if both lights are on in green, that means it's still paired to that one, but we'll see. If I lost the audio to this podcast, that would be the curse of Christmas, because, as I said, the words have been flowing. I've been talking a million words a minute, and I feel good about this podcast. I don't want to redo it, and I might not. Other news, I got, I used to wear makeup more. I don't usually these days. But I really used to be wearing lip gloss all the time and I loved it. And I just don't have a need for it so much in my life anymore. And also I've gotten a little bit more sensitive to like the feeling of it. Especially in a Chicago winter, if my lips are dry at all, a lip gloss, even if it's supposedly hydrating, can be a little bit too gloopy and start to clump on any dryness on the lips. And I've been aware of the science of the lip oil. The past few years, the lip oils have gotten really popular, but I haven't ever bought one. But I was just in a shopping spirit of Christmas the other day at the mall, and I went to Sephora and bought a Fenty Beauty lip oil in the color. The hell is the color? Oh my God. Superfine Sugar. And it's like really subtle and nude. It's like a clear gloss almost with like a very frosty, like whitish gold glitter. But overall, it's a subtle effect. Can you see it? I really love it, and it looks like a gloss. It gives you a glossy appearance to your lips, but it's just, the formula definitely is more hydrating. I wear it over a chapstick or a lip balm, but it never dries out my lips. Like, as it absorbs and kind of fades or gets wiped off through the day, my lips feel good and hydrated. I also, what was I gonna say? I feel like it looks just as shiny as a gloss without being so thick and gloopy. It's like more able to just kind of absorb and wear nicely. And you can keep applying it without it getting gross. So I'm a huge fan. I'm back into my gloss days. Even if the only place I'm going for the day is the gym, which I went to the gym earlier today, and I wore my glitter lip oil, okay? For me and for anyone else there. I did Christmas Eve at my friends Sam and Kirsten's place in Kalamazoo, which I love them. I love being at their house. I love their family. They all can cook and bake, and it always gives me an excuse. They never need me to bring anything. Like, we always have a good feast there. But it gives me an excuse to bake because I love to bake, but I don't generally want to bake unless I have someone I can give it to. I can't be having cake and cookies in my house. And I don't say that and I'm like, oh my God, haha, I gotta like watch my weight way. No, I'm like, I will binge eat. Like, I make myself sick and have horrible self-control issues. We can get into it more another time, but like literally if I had a cake here, I might eat the whole cake to the point where I feel sick. So I don't like to have a whole cake here. I love to make a cake and bring it to my friend's house where I eat one slice and then I say, please keep the leftovers. So that's what I did. I made a pear frangipane tart, which for me was fine. It was kind of involved and a little bit fancier than what I would typically make, but it turned out pretty. I would make it again, but I use Bosc pears. I use Bosc pears because they're firm and the pears get poached and baked, so you don't want something that's going to turn to mush. I learned that on the internet. But I would maybe try to choose a riper pear or try a different variety, even if it does mean that it might end up a little bit softer, because the Bosc pears were not as flavorful as I would have liked. Maybe I also could have poached them a little bit longer. Overall, the dessert for me, the pear tart, they also had budino, which was like Italian puddings, like a strained egg pudding. It was really delicious, and like butterscotch and chocolate. And then Kirsten is the type of person who makes 30 different varieties of Christmas cookies and then gives her friends Christmas cookie boxes, which she also gave me a box, which I did eat in like 24 hours, just to give you an idea of the way I can lack self-control around a sweet. Yeah, we had plenty of dessert, but for my pear tart, it could have been sweeter. I feel like we're in an era of everyone loving not too sweet. And it definitely got the not too sweet ribbon, but for me, it could have been a little bit sweeter. But it was good. I would make it again and maybe just add a little bit extra sugar, or like I said, try a different pear variety. What else? Oh, they're so sweet. They like had presents for me at their house, which was so nice. They gave me a t-shirt, which I wore today to the gym, which said "Someone in Kalamazoo loves me." It's pink, and it's cute. And then Sam is always giving me books, even when it's not Christmas. So of course she gave me some books on Christmas. She gave me Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead by Emily Austen. Big Swiss by Jen Began. And She's Always Hungry, stories by Eliza Clark. And I don't really know anything about any of these. I think Big Swiss is like a lesbian book because I loved the last lesbian book Sam recommended me. And so Sam said, oh, you love lesbian books? Let me put you onto some lesbian books. Have you read any of these? Do you know these? So, oh my gosh, I'm spoiled for books right now. And I need to up my reading habit a little bit better. But I did. It took me a while, but I finished what I was reading lately last night, which was The Cloud Road, which is book 1 in the Roxura trilogy by Martha Wells, I believe is the author's name, which I had that recommended to me randomly. And it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but I did enjoy it. It's a fantasy book about it's like a world where there's lots of different species of like humanoid creatures. There's like lizard people and bird people and other types of like random fantasy races of like humanoid creatures or like insectoid creatures. And it follows this bird guy. He's a bird person, so he's a Roxura, and he kind of grew up orphaned, and he doesn't know what he is. He doesn't know he's a Roxura. He just knows that he is able to transform and like have wings and fly. And he like in the book learns who his people are, and he like joins his people who are like in crisis with their eternal blood feud with the Fel, who are another type of transforming winged creatures who are like evil as hell. Yeah, it was really getting me by the end. Like I read quite a lot to finish it last night because the ending was exciting, but it sort of ended on a cliffhanger. Like it's certainly not resolved yet. And I'm like, do I go straight into the next book or read something else? But I kind of feel like I put it aside for now and read something else. And then when I'm ready, I come back to it. Okay, I have talked myself hoarse. If you like my podcast, God bless you. I love you. And if you didn't like it, hopefully you're not still here hating. That is a scary energy, and I rebuke it. Thanks as always for watching. I hope it was as cozy for you as it was for me. And hopefully I'll be back in January, but you never know with me. I might disappear. But January's the plan. Take it easy. Be gentle with yourself. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your crafting. Do something nice for yourself. Do something nice for someone else. Or don't. Okay. All right. Bye. See you next time.